Hey, folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast live stream. And as we head into the weekend, the plot thickens when it comes to Iran's nuclear weapons program. Now, the conventional wisdom has been that a military strike is coming, either Israel acting solo or along with the United States, in the very least, with an enthusiastic green light from President Trump. And I still think there's a very good chance that's going to happen. But in the meantime, we've also been telling you about President Trump's desire not to engage the United States in wars or prolong wars around the world, but to end wars. He believes that's one of the reasons he was elected, to get the United States out of wars and especially conflict in the Middle East and elsewhere. So to that end, he talked a few weeks ago when he met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about possibly a grand bargain of sorts with the Iranian regime that would see Iran voluntarily give up its nuclear weapons program. And he weighed in on it today. You're going to want to hear this, but this is the backdrop just real quick for a second here. And he said, look, we're going to restart the maximum pressure campaign that I enforced during my first term in office. Relentless, biting sanctions against Iran's government that will squeeze their economy, isolate them on the world stage economically, with the goal of either the regime cries uncle and says, okay, no more, we'll give up our nuclear program, or that the regime is toppled by the Iranian people who can't afford bread and eggs, and they're in the streets and they're increasingly impoverished, and they rise up and overthrow the regime. That was the hope during the first term, and it was having a great effect. Iran was really hurting, and then Joe Biden took office. So President Trump a few weeks ago vowed to renew that maximum pressure campaign. And again, key point here, he's saying, look, it's been twofold. Number one, maximum pressure, squeeze them, tighten the noose around the mullah, the Ayatollah's necks economically. And again, have them begging for mercy to the point where they abandon their nuclear program. And Trump is saying, I want to give one more chance at diplomacy before we have to destroy your nuclear sites and cause havoc for your regime. Iran, this is one more chance. One last chance for diplomacy. If even our maximum economic pressure does not convince you to abandon your nuclear weapons program, then all bets are off, and we're going to hit you devastatingly hard, or we're just going to give Israel the means to do it. And we talked about this on yesterday's newscast. By the way, if you miss any of our newscasts, our live streams, yesterday was a shorter one. I was on the road, did about an 11-minute update about this joint, speaking of which, joint military drill that took place earlier this week between the United States and Israeli air forces over the Mediterranean, and it involved B-52 bombers, which can carry a very heavy payload to Iran. And folks, that is clearly not a coincidence. It was a clear message to the Iranian regime. But if you miss that, check it out in our archives under newscast or videos. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. Hey, we've gone well beyond 1 million subscribers in the past few months, and we want to expand that in 2025 for such a time as this, not for our glory or our edification, but so that we can get a message of truth out there in these crucial prophetic biblical times. This is breaking news, current events from an unapologetically biblical perspective. So make sure to subscribe. Okay, Trump is saying one last chance to Iran. You still don't abandon the nuclear program, then there's no way we're allowing you to go nuclear. No way. He's reiterated that repeatedly over the past few weeks. And the thing is, unlike Joe Biden would stare at the screen and reporters would ask him, President Biden, do you have any message to Iran's leaders when it comes to their nuclear program, when it comes to their potential development of nuclear weapons? Biden, mouth agape, would say, stare at the camera blankly and say, don't. He said the same thing, I think, to Hamas, said the same thing to Vladimir Putin. The reporters would ask him, his fawning mainstream media press corps would ask him, Mr. President, what would you say to Vladimir Putin? He's preparing to invade Ukraine. What's your message to him? Don't. And that's it. So needless to say, they did, number one, the bad guys, but number two, the man wasn't taken seriously. We could go on. He's out of office now, thank God. But Trump has teeth behind his comments and his remarks and his statements. And some people say, well, he's been threatening for Hamas for weeks and nothing has happened. That's not because of Trump. That's because Israel wants to eradicate Hamas right now, but Israel also has dozens of live hostages still in Hamas clutches in Gaza. So it's a delicate dance here right now that Israel is conducting. And Trump, look, once Hamas eradicated, once Gaza cleared out now, but there's also the very considerable factor to consider, the biggest factor. There are still Israeli hostages and at least one live American hostage, I believe, in Gaza. So don't worry. Things are still heading down that road of the eradication of Hamas and a new Gaza. That's coming. Not going to happen overnight, though. It's interesting. The left and the mainstream media, they're saying prices haven't gone down yet in 6 weeks. Magically, prices are going to go down in 6 weeks, and the entire economy in 6 weeks is going to recover from the madness of the past 4 years. A very impatient sort, but I digress. Here's where we're at now. Iran's last chance. And I've said all along, 2025, year of reckoning for Iran's nuclear weapons program, meaning by the end of this year, folks, we will know. I mean, I think one way or the other, we will know, okay, I keep saying, I've said it a few times, you watch me regularly, you know, one day you're going to wake up, you're going to turn on the live stream here, and I'll be saying, it really happened. Ladies and gentlemen, Iran just joined the nuclear club. They just successfully tested a nuclear bomb. They fired the North Korea model, or they followed, I should say, the North Korea model. They've now got the ultimate deterrent. No one's talking about regime change in North Korea anymore since they got the bomb. Iran just followed that blueprint. Now Iran has the bomb. Now Iran has the ultimate deterrent. They just preserved their regime, their existence as a regime. Either I'm saying that, but I think it's much, much, much more likely that I'm saying the opposite, which is, folks, guess what? Israeli fighter jets are in the skies right now, or along with American fighter jets, or with the active assistance of the United States military, and they're bombing Iran's nuclear sites. It's either or. Not saying the actual act will happen in 2025, but we will know by the end of this year which way the wind is going to blow when it comes to Iran's nuclear weapons program. And the reason to strike sooner rather than later is pretty obvious. It's common sense. We've gone over this over and over the past few months. Iran's ring of fire, Hamas, Hezbollah, et cetera, that surrounds Israel has been effectively reduced to ashes. That's number one. Israel doesn't have to worry about this massive bombardment from Hamas and Hezbollah in response to a strike on the nuclear facilities. And secondly, back in October, Israel destroyed Iran's air defenses. Essentially, right now, the Israeli Air Force and the U.S. Air Force have a clear path to Iran's nuclear sites. They're exposed. They're vulnerable. Yes, those nuclear sites are embedded deep underground, heavily fortified and scattered throughout the country. This is not 1981 when Israel destroyed a lone reactor, Saddam Hussein's reactor in Iraq, or 2007 when Israel destroyed that one lone reactor, Bashar al-Assad's reactor in Syria. This is heavily fortified, harder targets. There's more of them, obviously. And yet, I feel really good about Israel's chances to do heavy, heavy damage to those Iranian nuclear sites and set them back considerably. But I'd feel even better if there was U.S. assistance there. And what I mean is, no one's talking about boots on the ground, number one. Let's make that clear. Number two, what I'm talking about is refueling help in midair and the type of bunker-busting bombs that Israel would need. Provide assistance and let the IDF do the job. Let Israel do what it does best. That time is coming of reckoning. Here's what Trump said today. I said the plot thickens. Just reading this straight off my phone. Trump says, quote, something's going to happen very soon with Iran as he pushes to negotiate a nuclear deal. If we have to go in militarily, he said, it's going to be a terrible thing for them. Yes, indeed. President Donald Trump today signaled that a nuclear deal with Iran could emerge in the near future, just over a month after his administration reinstated a maximum pressure campaign against Tehran. Trump on Friday told reporters that the U.S. is down to the final moments negotiating with Iran and that he hoped military intervention would prove unnecessary. Now, just one side note, Trump talking to reporters, what a difference. I mean, the man goes before the cameras every day. He'll talk to anyone at any time, any reporter, every day. You may not like him, you love him, hate him. The guy is available, he's accessible. He doesn't run and hide. This is not Joe Biden every 8 months emerging from the catacombs to appear before reporters. No, Trump doesn't dodge any questions. He goes head on, and you got to respect that. He said, it's an interesting time in the history of the world, no doubt. And quote here, again, this is still President Trump, but we have this situation with Iran that something is going to happen very, very soon. You'll be talking about that pretty soon, I guess. Hopefully we can have a peace deal. I'm not speaking out of strength or weakness. I'm just saying I'd rather see a peace deal than the other, but the other will solve the problem. Trump revealed that he sent a letter to Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, pushing for Tehran to agree to a nuclear agreement or face military consequences. I would rather negotiate a deal, Trump told Fox Business. I'm not sure that everybody agrees with me, but we can make a deal that would be just as good if you won militarily. I don't know about that. But the time is happening now, he continued. The time is coming up, the year of reckoning. Something is going to happen one way or the other. I hope that Iran, and I've written them a letter saying, I hope you're going to negotiate, because if we have to go in militarily, it's going to be a terrible thing for them. It seems that Trump, one analyst said, it seems that Trump was putting all options on the table, from good to bad. But the president should be careful. Tehran has set a trap for him, hoping to lure him into endless diplomacy that is used to blunt the maximum pressure campaign and dampen the credibility of an American or Israeli military option while buying time to creep towards a nuclear weapon. Now, a few things here. Number one, what do you think of this? That's a lot to take in, right? I mean, wow. It's pretty much a bombshell report, and that's why we came to you live today. A very, very major development there, needless to say. So President Trump writes the supreme leader of Iran a letter and says, look, if you want to negotiate a deal, giving up your nuclear weapons and your program, we'll talk to you. If you don't give up your nuclear weapons program, we're going to bomb you. And we're going to destroy the nuclear program. We will ensure that it's destroyed. I want to avoid that. Here's your options. As an analyst said, here's the good options. Here's the bad options. You can take, which road are you going to take? Now, my take is that I find it highly, highly unlikely that the Iranian regime, and look, I give President Trump credit. You can't say warmonger about President Trump. He's trying to end the war in Russia and Ukraine. He's trying to avoid military action. And again, look, golden opportunity right now to strike Iran's nuclear sites, clear path. But he's saying, look, I'm going to try and be the peacemaker. I'm going to try and I'll give diplomacy. Now I'm in office. I've been in office for 6 weeks. Before I just go all in and start dropping bombs, okay, we'll give this one more chance. Personally, as persuasive as President Trump is, and he's the deal maker, no doubt, the art of the deal, he's a master. I find it, the chance is slim to none that Iran would give up its nuclear weapons program. And everyone wants to avoid military action, but of course, but I think we're going to get to a point where there's no other option, because I cannot see the regime. They'll try to drag things out, play games, and all of this. But they are too invested in this, in their nuclear program. It is their crown jewel. You thought the Ring of Fire and Hezbollah were their crown jewel? The nuclear program, that is, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended a little bit, their trump card, right? It's their means of hanging on to power. A minute ago, I mentioned the North Korea option. That's what North Korea did. Now no one's talking about regime change in North Korea because North Korea is now a nuclear power. They probably have dozens of bombs at this point, and they've worked on intercontinental ballistic missiles, which Iran is also working on, ICBMs, which could reach the United States. And you develop ICBMs for one reason and one reason only, to mount them with a nuclear warhead. So when we talk about Iran's nuclear program, and some folks here in the United States say, well, it's not our problem. Tough break for Israel, not our problem. Think again. Not only is a nuclear Iran certainly a regional problem, but those ICBMs, again, intercontinental. They do exactly what their name says. They're designed to travel across continents, across oceans. Those ICBMs are not for Israel. They're not for Saudi Arabia. They're not even for Europe. They're for the great Satan, in Iran's words. Not the Iranian people, the Iranian leaders, the United States, the great Satan, where I'm sitting right now. Big distinction to make when we talk about Iran. There's the regime, the Ayatollahs, the mullahs, that tyrannical regime, that wicked, evil regime that's been in power for some 46 years. The main victims, here's the distinction, folks. The main victims are the Iranian people. The Iranian people we love. And what a proud, incredible, long, going back thousands of years history. Modern day Iran was known as Persia in biblical times 25 years ago. And Iran is a Bible land. Esther, Mordecai, Darius, Cyrus, all these great biblical figures from your Bible, that took place in ancient Persia, which is modern day Iran. It was home to a great civilization. By the way, speaking of Esther and Mordecai, Purim, the holiday celebrated by Israel and the Jewish people, I believe it's in 1 week. So Purim is coming up. People dress up in costumes in Israel and commemorate the defeat of Haman and the enemies of the Jewish people in ancient Persia, as recounted in the book of Esther. It's a really fun, festive time in Israel, Purim. But the people of Iran, courageous. Since 1999, really, there have been waves of protests against this regime, and this regime has been able to bitterly cling to power. And they've done it through fear, intimidation, torture, imprisonment, horrible things, murder of their political opponents, of dissidents, even killing dissidents abroad in Europe, even targeting dissidents right here in the United States who dare speak out against the regime. It's a terror regime. But the Iranian people are something different. And look, Iran, not only a Bible land to encourage you, because I think a lot of people look at Iran and see a black hole of terror and tyranny. And certainly in their government, that's there. But not only is Iran a Bible land, but Iran is home. And this is one of the great, we've been talking about this on the live stream for a while. Iran is home. Really wrap your head around this, folks, and be encouraged. Iran is home to the world's fastest growing church. The numbers of Christians in Iran, despite severe persecution and oppression, the numbers of Christians in Iran are growing by leaps and bounds. The fastest growing church in the world, some would say even faster than China, which is exploding as well, because you can't stop the gospel. If history has taught us anything, it's that you cannot stop the gospel. And the more you try to stop it, the more it expands. It's kind of like when Pharaoh was trying to snuff out all the firstborn Jewish babies in ancient Egypt, as we learn in the book of Exodus, and the babies just kept coming because God was in it. You can't stop the gospel anywhere. The gospel wins. Jesus wins. And that's happening in Iran right now. But with the letter, what do you think? I think the big difference, if Joe Biden wrote this letter, I'd be saying, oh, not good, because he's doing it from a position of weakness. If Joe Biden, and by the same token, Barack Obama, when he agreed to a horrible nuclear deal that thankfully Trump pulled out of in 2018, but Obama did it from a position of weakness and gave Iran everything but the kitchen sink. And Iran literally gave the United States nothing in return. It was a horrible deal. That's why Trump ripped it up not long after he entered office. Trump's a different story. As I said earlier, there's teeth behind his threats. If you doubt his seriousness towards the Iranian regime, may I give you a quick review of his first term between 2017 and 2021? Eliminated Qasem Soleimani, the second most powerful man in Iran, the terror master, the Iranian general. Trump took him out. Again, pulled out of that disastrous Iran nuclear deal, designated Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps as a terror organization. enforced the maximum pressure campaign, sanctions through the roof, bolstered Israel at every turn, moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. He was Iran's worst nightmare. That's why Iran tried to assassinate Donald Trump. There were assassination plots against the man throughout 2021 through 2024. They feared his return. It's their worst nightmare. Now he's back. And now I think he's kind of keeping them on their heels a bit. Look, it's the art of the deal, the master deal maker negotiator. This is not Joe Biden bumbling and stumbling. This is Donald Trump. It's a different story when he's at the helm. Hey, let's try diplomacy. If you dare continue with the nuclear program, we will unleash hell. And when he says it, they believe him because there's a track record in his first term of, yes, unleashing hell on the Iranian regime and its minions. So let's see how this plays out, but he's saying something soon. Folks, who knows the back channel conversations between the United States and Israel right now? And look, Israel's chomping at the bit. Israel, I'm sure, is telling Trump, Mr. President, it's a lost cause. They're not going to give up their nuclear program. They're ideological fanatics. They're apocalyptic, ideological eschatology. Their eschatology demands it. They're fanatics. If they give up their nuclear program, what do they have? And then they look weak to their own people, and perhaps the people rise up and overthrow them. So Iran's between a rock and a hard place. That's exactly where Trump wants them. But Trump wants to basically browbeat them and force them to unilaterally give up their nuclear weapons program. If he does it, if he's able to do that, kudos to him. But trust, Ronald Reagan said about the Soviet Union, trust but verify. With the Iranian regime, don't trust, but verify, 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 because this is probably the world's most untrustworthy regime, needless to say. And that's the big question. If Iran pulls a Gaddafi in 2003, Muammar Gaddafi, the Libyan dictator, gave up his nuclear program unilaterally. If Iran does that, I mean, that'll be the diplomatic coup for Donald Trump, needless to say. Give the man the Nobel Peace Prize right then and there. If Iran abandoned its nuclear program, says we're done, we're going to sign a deal where we agree to give up our nuclear weapons program. The only way they would do that, I believe, the only way they would consider it would be if they knew their regime was going to be toppled. If they knew our regime's over if we don't do this, then to preserve the regime, they may agree to some sort of deal. Or being apocalyptically minded, they may try to go out in a blaze of glory and set the world on fire. Who knows? But the year of reckoning, we're there. Welcome to Bible times, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to prophetic times. We are there. Keep it all in prayer. And two things here before we go. Number one, if you like what you're hearing on the YouTube channel, and we've got over 1 million subscribers, we've had an incredible past few years, and we think better days even to come here on the YouTube channel. We love it. God's expanding our territory. We thank all of you, our subscribers, our premium members as well. You'll love our nightly broadcast show called Stakelbeck Tonight. It's on TBN, the world's largest Christian television network, every weeknight, Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, with a re-air at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, we don't, because it's a live stream, there's not a lot of bells and whistles here and B-roll and maps and everything, but on the nightly show, we got it. We got all the bells and whistles you want. You're here for the content at the end of the day, I know, but it's a beautiful looking show in a beautiful studio just outside of Fort Worth, Texas. We think you'll really like it every night. So check out Stakelbeck Tonight. That's number one. Number two, speaking of the Watchman, and for such a time as this, we've got the Watchman merch, 50% off now. Awesome deal. Watchman hats, hoodies, mugs, t-shirts, some other cool things. Shop.tbn.org is where you can pick it up. By popular demand, for a few years now, people were saying, hey, where's the merch? I want to rock some Watchman merch and show my support for the show and for the YouTube channel. So it is shop.tbn.org, 50% discount. Great deal. for your family members, friends. Really, really great deal. Some cool stuff. And I always say, my teenage daughters say it looks good. They say it's cool, so it must be. So that's your stamp of approval. But hey, everyone, have a great weekend. If anything pops off over the weekend, we will come back here with you live. That's why it's important to click the notification bell, subscribe so you get the alerts. But in the meantime, have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.